Jack? Where's Jack? Where is he? Jack, I want to see you. Great job, Jack. Thank you. What a job you do. You know, we have an incredible thing. We're always talking about the fake news and the bad, but we have guys, and these are the guys who should be getting Pulitzers.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we are back. Human Events Daily. We're here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we were in the Charlie Kirk studio. And, you know, it's been now 3 weeks since Charlie's murder. And, you know, we were talking in the previous segment about how the SPLC as well as the ADL had targeted Charlie in the days up to, you know, leading up to his death, put a turning point on the SPLC Hate Watch map, as well as targeting Charlie even the day before the shots rang out. And a man who I've only just gotten to know recently, but also knew Charlie for a long time, and spoke at the memorial with me, I think right after me, actually, and was there with Charlie that day, joins us now. It's Frank Turek. Frank, how are you?
Jack, like you, grief comes in waves. Some days I'm okay. Other days I don't even want to go on almost, you know? I mean, it's God can bring good from evil and is, but still that doesn't negate the fact that that was such a evil act in a terrible day. And it's just been difficult, but it couldn't be more difficult than what's happening with Erica. And I just keep her in my prayers every day. I know you are too.
No, I certainly am. And, you know, every chance I get to see her or, you know, other family members, I just try to, I don't know, use humor, try to find some way to get him a smile or something like that, just to lighten the load a little bit, just give one moment of, you know, playing peekaboo or whatever it is. Not with Erica, but and
right.
And you know, you did an incredible podcast. And I want you to tell people how to get the podcast where you tell the entire story of how you were there that day, because people have had so many questions about it, and I understand that. I've you know, I want to know what happened to Charlie too. You tell the entire story from soup to nuts, as we would have said in the Navy, like my fellow shipmate, that not only did you see what happened, you helped put Charlie's body in the back of that SUV, which was essentially commandeered, and rode with him to the hospital, and you shared just incredible details of having been there. Tell people and make sure they know where they can get that podcast.
Sure. Our website is crossexamined.org with a D on the end of it. But if they go to the YouTube channel, Cross-Examined, 2 words, they'll see it there. I think the title of it is called The Greatness of Charlie Kirk, an eyewitness account of his life and martyrdom. And yeah, I was there with Charlie because about 5 years ago, Jackie contacted me because he had seen that I was going to college campuses. I co-wrote a book called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. So I go to campuses and been doing it for almost 20 years now, presenting the evidence for Christianity and answering a lot of questions. And I guess Charlie just liked some of my answers. And so he reached out 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago, and said, hey, your ministry has been very pivotal. And I want to learn from you, and, you know, can you kind of mentor me in this? And so he and I would get together. This past summer, we got together on 4 occasions in Phoenix for a couple of days each time, just so we could, you know, iron sharpens iron. I mean, you would think it would be difficult to mentor somebody smarter than you. Charlie's smarter than me, but it's not, because the only thing that surpassed Charlie's intellect was his humility. And I'm sure he did this with you too, Jack. Hey, well, how would you answer this better? Hey, what do you think about this? Right? He was always looking to improve himself.
Yeah, if anything, I would say, you know, when Charlie and I would do our you know, our thought crime show, which today's Thursday, and we would have been, you know, hosting it today. We'll still do a show today. We have something special planned, actually. You know, if I could say anything, I was sort of Charlie's sparring partner, you know, and we would, you know, we'd get up some issue like flag burning or, you know, whatever the hot button issue was going on. And, you know, I would try to take the most opposed side I could, and we would just would just go at it, right? You know, we would just be, you know, ripping into each other, and well, what about this, and what about this, and the Supreme, and just back and forth. And it's like, you know, if he can do that, working, you know, you do your sparring, you do your training, so that he's totally ready to go there on the college campus, and then boom, wait, I remember I heard that because, you know, that came up before, like train like you fight, like we used to say in the Navy, and I mean, it was absolutely incredible, and little did we know, you know, all that prep work that he did for this tour, and he only made it about 2 questions in.
That's right. He was ready to go and excited to go. And so I just tell the story. I was 25 feet off his right elbow. And for some reason, people thought, oh, I was signaling the shooter. I was the guy in the white hat, you know, this stupid stuff that people put out on the internet. Like any shooter would need somebody to say, hey, that's Charlie Kirk over there. You know, if a shooter's looking through a scope, he can't see a guy 25 feet to his left anyway. Anyway.
Right. And people didn't realize that you were there because you were someone who'd been helping Charlie with the tour. You were helping him put it together. The content, the debates, that's what your role was, being there.
Yeah. And look, I was just fine tuning Charlie. He didn't need me as much as he thought he did. Charlie's brilliant. Right. But I was there. We spent the two previous days together, some parts of the 2 previous days. And he said, why don't you just come with me to the first event? I said, sure. So we're driving in. We got some drone footage. And I said to him, Charlie, I don't like this place. There's too many buildings. And he just kind of shrugged it off because he's brave and he's not going to cancel anything. There's 6,000 people waiting for him, right? But I tell the whole story. We probably don't have time to do it here. But I thought about this for a long time, Jack. I always thought somebody was going to take a shot at Charlie at some point. And you and I both being Navy guys, you know that you always have emergency procedures in the Navy. And so I thought to myself, if Charlie's ever shot, what would I do? So I thought about it in advance. And since he was like a son to me, I was going to do everything I could to try and save him if I could. So I kind of forced my way into the back of the SUV. The security team was on him immediately, and I just ran with him. And they put him across the back seat, the same SUV we took in there. And I popped the back gate open and got over the back seat. So I'm just looking straight down at him, you know, foot away. And I won't go into detail because I don't want to give Eric any more pain, but we did everything we could to save him. But he wasn't looking at me. He was looking right past me into eternity. He was already with Jesus, Jack. And the thing Erica wants everybody to know, and we verified this later when we got to the hospital, was that Charlie died instantly. He probably didn't even know he had been hit, at least in his, you know, in his physical self. As soon as, you know, absent from the body, present with the Lord, says 2 Corinthians 5. And Paul says something similar in Philippians. As soon as you are, if you're a believer, as soon as you expire, you're with the Lord. And that's where Charlie was. And so I go into a lot more detail in that podcast. Again, it's called The Greatness of Charlie Kirk, an eyewitness account of his life and martyrdom. It's on our YouTube channel, Cross-Examined, 2 words.
What was, I mean, and that podcast, I mean, when you did it, I mean, you put the listener right in the back of that SUV with you, and you talk about the one thing that that is always going to stick with me is that when you got to the hospital, and you and I think you were there with Mikey and Danny, and they told you to change your clothes, and they gave you scrubs.
Yeah, we had to change our clothes for obvious reasons. So, you know, we had Justin driving, Dan's in the front with the GPS on his phone.
Right.
Brian's to my right at Charlie's feet, and Charlie was 6'4", as you know. Sorry, is 6'4". He's still 6'4".
That's right.
And we couldn't close the door because he was so tall. So we drove 4 miles, yanking and banking to the hospital with the door open. To this day, I don't know how Brian stayed in the car, but you know, he's administering first aid. Rick has basically Charlie's head on my left, administering first aid, and I'm over the back seat looking down at Charlie trying to do CPR. And I mean, it seemed like it took forever to get there. I mean, we're on our way there, and the ambulance is coming opposite us, and there was chatter in the car. Should we stop? No, just keep going. And later the doctor said that was the right thing to do. Yeah. Even though he,
I mean, not that, yeah, I mean, you guys did what you did, the response, being there, and we're coming up on a quick break, but I don't hold you over, because I do want to talk about what has become of this, but I just want to commend you for being there for Charlie and doing what you did and trying.
Jack, if you were standing there, you'd have done exactly the same thing.
Training, look, your training just kicks in.
Yeah, you couldn't say, "Oh,"
and you go for it.
Yeah, you do exactly, and anybody that loved Charlie would do exactly the same thing, right? It's nothing heroic. Going to the hospital with him, come on, we'd all do that.
What he did was heroic, and
that's right.
To record that and tell the story publicly, it must have been incredibly hard. And so I wanted to say thank you, Frank, for doing that. We'll be right back here, Human Events Daily. Jack Posobiec, Frank Turek, talking about our dear friend, Charlie Kirk. We'll be right back. Real America's Voice.